Today's interview question is, what is copy, shallow copy and deep copy in Python? So we are going to see this concept in detail. So first we will see why we need to do copy. So these are the concepts. So these are the concepts related to duplicating or copying objects, specifically when dealing with mutable objects like dictionaries, a list dictionaries. So we know that in Python there are immutable and mutable objects. So immutable, so what is meant by mutable? Mutable means changeable and immutable means not changeable, means dynamically you can't add or remove elements from the immutable objects. But in mutable objects, so in mutable objects you can add or remove elements at your program execution time. So when you are dealing with such mutable objects, at that time you need to use this copy concept. So this, so when we have to use this copy concept, they are used to create copies of mutable objects to ensure changes made to copied objects doesn't affect the original object. So when you are going to use this, so whenever you want to create copy of these mutable objects, so why you are going to create copy of these mutable objects? So for example, you have one list, a is equal to, you have one list 1 2 3 4 6 7. So this is a nested list, list inside list is there. So this is your original list. So as lists are mutable data type, so when your program is going to execute, so at that time you can add or remove elements from this list. So there are chances this list may get changed further. So but what you want to do, you want to keep this original list intact. You don't want to change this original list, right? So for that purpose, so what you need to do, you need to copy this list into some other object. The simple way of copying is b is equal to a, you have done. So using assignment you have done. So what is going to happen, whatever this a object is there, so it is going to stored in b object, right? So this is the copy concept. So next what you can do, so this is just example I am telling you. So we are going to see in detail what is copy, shallow copy and deep copy. So for now, just, so this is just a rough example I am taking. So b is equal to a I have taken. So because of this, what is going to happen, a is now original list. So this is original list is intact, and whatever now you can do changes in b like this is the copy concept, right? So for that purpose you are going to use this copy concept to create a copy of your original object. But this is just simple copy. We are going to see in detail what is copy, shallow copy and deep copy. Here we are going to see simple copy using assignment operator. So here, so when we use this assignment operator to create copy of an object, so this is just simple copy. So here what is going to happen, so this is your original list and you want to create copy of this original list in b object. So what you have done, b is equal to a you have done. So you may be thinking here, so this is your one object and with this syntax, so Python has created new object. So this is your thinking, but you are wrong. Python here haven't created new object. So what is going to happen internally, for example, this is your list. So for example, at this memory location your list is stored 1 2 3 4 5. So this is your list is stored here, and what is, for example, address of this memory location is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So this is the address of this memory location, and so a is there, right? So currently a is pointing to this location, right? So now with this syntax what is going to happen, So Python haven't created here new object. So instead of creating new object, so instead of creating new b object with your this list, so what it has done, it has just created new reference to the same memory location. So new reference means it is just, so whatever this b is created now, it is just referencing to the same memory location. So if it has created new object, so what it has done, it has created new object and address will be different for b. So if it has created new object, but with this syntax, so this is you are doing copy, b is equal to a, means using assignment operator you are doing simple copy you are doing. So but here you are thinking Python has created new object, and if you are doing any changes in b or in a, it won't reflect to each other. No, so what if you do changes, any change in b, so that will get reflected to a, and if you have done any change to a, so that will get reflected to b. Why? Because so these are not different objects. So why it is happening, so changes are reflecting to each other. Why? Because these two are not different objects, so these are just same references to same memory location. So means these are a and b, so these are the references to same memory location. Because of that, if you are doing any change to a, so that will get reflected to b, and if you are doing any change to b, so that will get reflected to a. So we will verify this by doing some code. So I have explained you this concept in our slide. So now we will see programmatically. Now here A is our one list. So this is our list. And what I have done using this assignment operator, I have copied this a into b. So at this what I have told you, so these a and b are referring to same memory location. So that we will verify now. How we are going to verify? We know that there is one function in Python that will give you memory address. So that is id function. So how to check? So first I will check id of id of a id of a using id function. Then in the same way I will check id of b also. And I will print here. First we will check id, then we will go further. So now here I am running this program. So now here if you check here, so here IDs are same. So what I have told you, so when you are using this assignment operator, Python is not creating new object. So what it has done, it has just created another reference. So this b reference to the same memory location. And what I have told you, if you are doing any changes to a, so that those will get reflected to b, and if you are doing any changes to b, so those will get reflected to a. Why? Because these are referring to same object in memory. So because of that, if you are doing changes using a or b, so those will get reflected to both. So now, so before change we will print a I am going to print here, then b also we will print, b, right? So now first we will, this much program we will run. So now these are our original objects. Now what I will do, I will do a dot append 99, and I will print those a and b again. So now if I run this program, so now you have to observe this. So where I have done change, I have done change using a object, but so that change got reflected to b also, right? So now here I will do some change in B. For example, I am changing 0th object to 88, and again I will print this A and B. So now here I am running this program now. So if you have observed, so what I have done here, I am trying to change 0th position object using object B, but that change got reflected to A also. Means this is not safe way of copying object. So whatever changes you are going to do in objects, so those are getting reflected, right? So that's why this is not the safe way of copying object. So your goal is to keep original object intact, but it is not keeping original object intact. So because of that, what is happening here? So if you are doing any change in clone object, so those are getting reflected in original object, and in original object if you are doing any change, so that is getting reflected to clone object. So that's why it is not safe way to copy. So further we will see shallow copy. Next point is shallow copy. So we have seen simple copy, we have seen problem with simple copy, then we will see shallow copy. A shallow copy creates a copy of new object, but it doesn't create the copies of object contained within the original object. Means it duplicates the top level structure but not the nested structure. So this I will explain. So what it means. So here for example you have one list, a is equal to 1 2 3 and 4 5. So this is your list. So this is your original object. And when you are going to do shallow copy, so that we will see how to do shallow copy. So for example you have done shallow copy of this B, uh, you have done shallow copy of A in B object. So for that you have used this syntax, right? So with this shallow copy is going to create, but here it is telling that but it doesn't create the copies of object contained within the original object. So which object is contained within the original object? So this is your original, means this is your top level object, and in this object, so this is your top level list, and inside this list there is one more object, that is this is one more list, right? So nested list is there. So this is your top level object and this is your nested object. So what it will do, so what this shallow copy will do, it will create copy of this top level object, but it will not create copy of this nested object. So because of that, what is going to happen? So if you do any changes, so for example using this B object, so if you are doing any change to this top level object, for example if you have done B is equal to 100, so B of 0th element is equal to 100, so this change will not get reflected to A, because what it has done, it has copied top level object. But if you have done, for example if you are doing change to this nested list, for example 0 1 2 3, so this is the third element, and in this list you are changing this 0th element. So if you have done this change, so this change will get reflected to B, reflected, and it will not reflected to A, not reflected to A. Why? Because this shallow copy just do copy or clone or duplication of this top level object, but it doesn't do duplication of this nested object. So because of that, what it is going to do, if you have done any change to this nested object, so that will get reflected to both the object, and if you have done any change to top level object, it will not get reflected. So we have seen shallow copy concept. Now we will see how to do shallow copy. So if you have list containing another list, a shallow copy of outer list will get created. uh, but inner list will still refer to same object in memory as the original list. So that already I have told you. So how to make a shallow copy? So I have given here two syntaxes. So this is using slicing you can do shallow copy, and using copy function also you can do shallow copy, right? So but here what is the problem with shallow copy? So it will just copy the, it will create new object for top level object, but this nested object, it will not create the, it will not create the new object. So it will still refer to same object in memory as original list. So this we will understand more by doing code. So we have seen theory of shallow copy. So we will try to understand this concept more by doing some code. So now here I have one list. A is my list, and so this list is containing, so this is containing list inside list. So this is your top level list, and inside this list here is one more list, means nested objects are there, right? So this is your top level object and this is nested object, right? So we know that in shallow copy, so it just create copy of top level structure, but it is not creating new copy for this nested structure, right? So now here I will make copy of this. So there are two ways to create shallow copy. So I am taking this second approach. So you can take any approach. So I am taking here d a dot copy. So I have done this copy. Now this is shallow copy I have done. So I will print this a and d on the console. A and this d also. D. So if I run this, so now I got here two objects A and D. So now we will print addresses of both. ID A and ID D. So here I need to use ID function for that. ID of A. So now if I run this, so now I got here different IDs. Means what this shallow copy is creating? It is creating new object for this top level structure, right? So now if I do any change to this top level structure using any of the object, for example, if I do a of 0th element is equal to, I am doing here 99, and if I print this a and d on the console, and if I run this, so here you will find that you have done change to this a, so that has not reflected to d. Why? Because it is shallow copy. So it has created new objects for this top level structure, right? So if I do any change to d, so using this, if I make it to 55, and if I print this a and b on the console, a and d, sorry. So now here I have done change to d, but that is not reflected to a, right? So now means top level structure different copies are there because of that. So whatever changes I am doing in this top level list, those are not getting reflected. Now we will check. So if I do any change to nested structure, for example, where is our nested list? So it is at the location 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. So third index, and so if I change its 0th element to zeroth element to, for example, triple one I am doing. And if I check both A and D, what happens? We will check right here. So now here I have done change to the nested structure. So what shallow copy is doing? Shallow copy is not creating new object for nested object. So that's why it has, if you have done any change to the nested object, so in both the objects changes are getting reflected. Now we will check IDs of or addresses of this nested object. So for that I will copy this code and we will check addresses of nested object. So I will take here print nested objects IDs. So to take nested object IDs, so which object we want? So your list is, so where is your nested object? It is as third index. So because of that we will take here 3. And how to check here? ID of A of 3 and ID of D of 3. And if I run this code, now you will find that addresses of nested objects are same, right? So in this way we have verified that. So if you have done shallow copy, for nested objects it is not creating different object, right? So it is just copying the original object, right? So that's why shallow copies are also not safe. So there is issue with shallow copy. So that's why we will go for deep copy. So that we will see further. Next point is deep copy. So we have seen simple copy and shallow copy. We know what are the problems with copy and shallow copy. So now we are going to see deep copy. A deep copy creates a copy of new object. It creates the copies of object contained within the original object. Means it duplicates the top level structure and nested structure also, right? So now here ways to do deep copy. So for that you have to import, first you have to import this copy module, and then you have to use this deep copy function from that copy module. So here what it is doing, so in shallow copy it is not creating a copy for nested structure, right? So that was the issue with shallow copy. But what is this deep copy is doing? So whatever your top level structure is there, so this list, for this also it creates new object, and for this nested list also it will, nested object also it will create new object. So because of that what is going to happen? So for example you have done deep copy of this A in B. So because of this, if you, so because of this deep copy, if you have done any change to A, that will not get reflect to B, or if you have done any change to B, so that will not get reflect to A. So that will not get reflective A. So these are the new objects created in memory. So this is the deep copy concept. So we will learn more about this by doing some code. So now we are going to see deep copy right here. So I have one list here. So it is containing top level structure and nested structure also. In deep copy what we have learned, so it is creating new object for this top level object and nested object also. So now to create deep copy, first you have to import this copy module, and using this deep copy function you can do copy. So now here b is equal to copy dot deep copy A I am doing. So now I will print this A and B on the console. A and print B. Right? So now if I run this, so now I got this A and B. So this is deep copy. So because of that, if I do any change to any object, so that will not get reflected to other. For example, if A of 0, I am doing 99, and if I print this A and B on the console, so I will find that, so whatever change I have done in A, so that is confined to A only, that is not reflected to B, right? So now here, if I do any change to B, so if I change its first element to 33, and if I print this A and B on the console, so if I run this, so whatever change I have done to B, so that is not there in A, right? So why? Because this is a deep copy. Now we will do some change to nested object. So for example, if I have done 3 of 0th, so 0th element I am changing of nested list, so I am creating it to, I am assigning value 77. So if I print this on the console, so now here, as this is deep copy, so if I have done any change to this nested object, so that is not in B or B's nested object. Why? Because deep copy create new object for top level structure and nested structure also. So how to verify this? Using addresses we can verify this. So for example, if I print address of A, ID of A, so this is ID of A. So first we will print addresses of top level structure, then we will print address of nested structure, then B, right? So now if I run this, so I am getting here different addresses. Now what Python has done, Python has created new objects. Why? Because it is deep copy. Means in deep copy, if you have done deep copy of objects, so different object is getting created in memory. So for this top level structure we have seen. Now we will see nested structure address. Means nested means this is your nested list. So how to find its address? So address of this, so this is the, which element is it, is this 0 1 2 3. So we will check address of this third element of the list. So in both A and B we will check. So sorry, I should copy these two first. ID of A 3, so third element, so this nested list is third element 0 1 2 3, and B of 3, right? And how to check this? A of 3 and B of 3. So if I run this, so I will add here one line, nested list IDs. So if I run this, so you will find that, so these addresses are also different, but in shallow copy we got same addresses for this nested list. So that is the difference between deep copy and shallow copy. So what this deep copy is doing, so deep copy is doing, it is creating new objects for nested list and top list, top level structure also, right? So in this way we have seen this concept of copy, shallow copy and deep copy.